me. But what is this feeling? What could it be? Is it a story I've known before? Or something my heart is asking for? Jealousy versus connection.
Peace, and welcome to Be Aware of Your Thoughts. This is how manifestation works. Here, we remember that our mind is not a cage. It is a sacred space. My name is Dr. Cynthia Marie Whitley, and we are ready for another podcast. Peace, everyone. Welcome to Be Aware of Your Thoughts, where we gently begin to see ourselves from within, remembering that our mind is not a cage. It is a sacred place. Before I begin, I am going to quote a statement that I heard from my 15-year-old grandson. First, he went to visit his 4 cousins downstairs and came back with his hands over his ears. His name is Elijah. And he said, Grandma, I love them, but in joy sometimes there are issues. He was smiling. Let me repeat that. He said, Grandma, sometimes there are issues in joy. Those words were befitting for this podcast because his words of wisdom was helping me personally explain the feelings I was working through in my heart pertaining to the topic of this podcast, namely jealousy versus connection. What is it really revealing about you? I called this perfection. Joy is beautiful, but even in our happiest moments at times, hidden feelings can rise to the surface. Sometimes joy reveals what we fear exposing, what we feel we don't deserve, or what still needs healing within us. That discomfort, which may feel like a mountain at times, isn't there to ruin the moment. It's there to teach us. I would like to encourage you to, instead of pushing the feeling away or burying it or fleeing from a divine relationship, to stand still within yourself and observe the feeling and question the feeling. Because sometimes, even in joy, issues may arise, but in it, we can find truth. And that truth can guide us back to ourselves, our home, and our hearts. Now, we'll officially begin the podcast. Jealousy versus connection. What is it really revealing about us? This feeling that we feel, is it jealousy or connection? Stay with me as I explain. The sometimes misunderstood emotion called jealousy from 2 different perspectives. Let me begin by saying that jealousy itself is not a feeling. Jealousy is a symptom. It is complex. It is not as simple as, I'm sad, I feel fear, I feel disgusted. But it is made up of a blend of primary emotions happening simultaneously. For example, with jealousy, there is fear of losing something or someone important, anger at a perceived rival or the situation, sadness or grief, anticipating or experiencing a loss, anxiety, certainly about one's value or security, and or shame or insecurity, feeling inadequate or not enough. You see, jealousy isn't just a raw feeling. It involves a story, a perceived threat to something you value. In this case, we will be looking at relationships and a comparison between yourself and another. It is this very comparison between individuals that make it complex. What if I told you that jealousy in relationships has very little to do with your partner and everything to do with you? Listen reverently. I could also say it has everything to do with us. Because by the end of this conversation, you may never experience jealousy the same way again. Let's look at the common experience that many of us think is equated with jealousy. Let's understand why we feel what we feel. In romantic relationships, jealousy almost never comes from nowhere. It is usually rooted in one or more of the following. One, unhealed attachment wounds. This is early experiences, like in childhood or past relationships, where love felt conditional, unreliable, or was suddenly withdrawn. In those instances, our nervous systems probably learned to stay on guard. We built a cage in our minds equipped with bars, thoughts that is, not realizing we had the key to escape all along. Never realizing that experiencing these feelings or shadows can be healed if we address them. Listen to the previous podcast called What If the Cage Isn't Real? The link is included. For now, let's continue to other possible roots. 2, low self-esteem or insecurity. That's deep fear that you are not lovable enough, attractive enough, or sufficient to keep your partner's interests. 3, what about past betrayal? If you've been cheated on or abandoned before, your brain creates threat detection patterns that stay hypervigilant, even in safe relationships. 4, anxious attachment style. People with anxious attachment end or tend to constantly scan for signs their partner is pulling away, which feeds jealousy easily. Unmet needs. Sometimes jealousy signals that something important to you, reassurance, quality time, affirmation, isn't being met in the relationship. Now let's give an example. Let's begin with something familiar. You're in a relationship and you notice your partner spending time with someone else. Maybe they're laughing. Maybe they're talking a little longer than usual. Maybe there's a connection you can feel but cannot explain. And suddenly something rises within you, a tightening, a discomfort, a question. And we quickly label that feeling jealousy. In the above scenario, the assumptions we make can go like this. I feel this way because of what they are doing. We point outward. Why are they talking to them? What does that mean? Should I be concerned? What if that feeling didn't begin with them and your partner's reactions? What if it was simply revealed through them? Insight. Jealousy is really about the other person or the perceived rival. It is almost always a message about something unresolved within us or within the relationship dynamic. Now, let's look at the second interpretation of the feeling we automatically call jealousy. And this is enlightening when you are sure of your self worth. Not everything we feel in that moment is actually jealousy. It could be something more honest. In this analysis, what we're actually feeling may be one of the following: a longing, a deep desire to be near the partner in his or her warmth, in his or her energy, or yearning, wanting to be the one he or she turns to, not out of insecurity, but out of love. And now we're going to look at bittersweet love, the particular ache that comes when love is real and mutual, but constrained by circumstances. And then there's the energetic pull, the desire to be in his or her energy. This is very real. When we love someone deeply, their presence feels like home, and their absence, even temporary, situational absence, even while being in proximity of each other, creates a gentle but noticeable ache. So, is it jealousy or is it love asking for time? What if you're not upset because your partner is with someone else? What if you simply want to be with them, to be in their energy, TOO? What if the feeling rising up is not, I'm afraid of losing you, but instead, I miss you? So here's another question I want you to sit with. Take a minute before you answer. Think, am I afraid of losing something? Or am I simply desiring more connection? Because your answer will tell you everything. It may even calm your vibrational feeling or emotion. Emotions are your feelings in motion. So let's make the distinction. This will begin to transfer you back to your inner truth, making the distinction, that is, back home to your heart. As we begin understanding this distinction, we won't label everything as jealousy anymore. We'll begin to see the deeper message within ourselves. So now, let's go even deeper. When it is jealousy, what is really being revealed? So, listen as I go over this table of the differences between jealousy and longing or yearning. The root cause of jealousy is fear or loss or insecurity. The root cause of longing and yearning is love, a desire for closeness. What jealousy feels like is threat, danger, suspicion. What longing feels like is warmth and ache. Now, let's look at who or what the action is being directed toward when we feel jealousy. In this case, the rival is the partner. The ego is what is yearning for protection. When it comes to longing, the connection itself is what's being, let's say, the arrow is pointing at the connection, is pointing at the heart. The message behind jealousy is, I might lose this. The message behind longing is, I love this person deeply. So let's refocus. Remember, we were looking at whether we are experiencing jealousy or longing. It should be easier to choose now. if you take an honest assessment. If you choose longing, you can safely say you know your self-worth and are continuing to live in this assurance since you are questioning the motives of your heart. Good for you. If you choose jealousy after weighing out your roots, you are most likely living in insecurity in many areas of your life and are not doing the work to know KNOW and live by your worth. Still good for you because you are courageous enough to face your shadows, or when you are courageous enough to face your shadows. Ultimately, both perspectives lead us to the same understanding. Those outer experiences that we are feeling and looking at reflects the inner belief of oneself. Jealousy and longing is not proof that something is wrong with your partner. It is often a signal that something feels unresolved within us. So let's do the inner work to experience the peace that is our birthright and resides in us under the sea of emotions, just like the fish are at peace under the sea. I want you to listen to this analogy. Jealousy and longing can feel like rough waters, loud, restless, and overwhelming at the surface. It stirs emotion, creates waves of doubt, and can make everything appear unstable. But what we often forget is this: jealousy is only the surface. Longing is only the surface. Beneath those turbulent waters lies something much deeper. When we pause, when we examine the feeling, instead of reacting to it, we begin to descend below the noise. And there, underneath the agitation, we discover clarity, we discover truth, we discover the peace which lies within. Just like the fish that swim calmly beneath a stormy sea, there is a part of us that remains undisturbed, grounded. Jealousy is not the enemy. Longing is not the enemy. It is the surface signal. But peace is what resides beneath it, waiting to be seen and understood and chosen. Why? Because we are made in God's image, and peace is a part of that. So don't be afraid to examine your feelings. Ask, what is it that I'm feeling? What is it trying to show me about myself and even about the relationship? Because jealousy and longing is not the enemy. Jealousy lives in insecurity. Longing lives in love. And even though they live in different places or rooms in the mansion, they are both messengers. They are a snapshot of our heart. So choose love and live. A final note before we end. Jealousy and envy are not the same. There is a link to a podcast that explains the difference between jealousy or envy. Thank you for spending this time with me. And remember to be aware of your thoughts, because your mind is not a cage, it's a sacred place. Our thoughts are always revealing what we believe to be true. I didn't say what is true. I said what we believe to be true. And as we become aware, we become free. If you found this podcast helpful, please share it with at least 3 people. And finally, please consider supporting this channel because I'm able to receive support now. Enjoy the song at the end. And with that, I say peace.
I saw you laughing, something stirred in me. But what is this feeling? What could it be? Is it a story I've known before, or something my heart is asking for? Jealousy versus connection. What am I feeling in this moment? Is this fear I'm going through, or do I just want time with you? Not every feeling means something's wrong. Sometimes love just wants to be loved. Jealousy versus connection. I pause and choose my direction. If it is fear, I'll gently see. If it is love, I'll let it be. Be aware of your thoughts, they'll show you what is true.